everybody, it's Lisa with Junk Journal Gems. I have a little bit of a different video for us today. We're still working on the Jane Austen journals, but what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of collaging and chatting because I'm going to address some of the questions, or at least a couple of the questions that I got in this video, because doing the collaging, we're going to be collaging to make some journal cards and tags for use in the journals. So it's the perfect project to chat along with. Okay, so what I'll start this off with is the question that I wanted to address was from my Subbie Nancy. Hi Nancy, you had some great questions, and Nancy asked if a quilter could make junk journals, and I would say absolutely yes. And the proof in that is, hold on, I'm going to move my light out of your way. The proof in that is, if you've ever watched Wendy's junk journals, or I think it's like Wendy's Junk Journal Adventures, she is a quilter, she's an artist, she is a junk journal crafter or a handmade journal crafter, and Wendy makes lovely journals, but she would be a good one for anyone who makes who sews or makes quilts or does any kind of fabric work like that with any textiles, to check out Wendy's work, because in the journals that she makes, particularly Wendy's journal covers, is she has a wonderful way of using her personal style in how she crafts her covers, and she oftentimes sews them and they can have even a quilted kind of look. In fact, being a quilter, you have almost a leg up, I would say, on some of us, because you hold on, I have dogs getting out of hand. Girls, stop. Evidently it's playtime now. We must wrestle. You have this talent in sewing and being very precise as a quilter in your sewing, so that you would be able to actually quilt covers and have that know-how in bringing forth toward this particular craft. So I personally think that they go hand in hand quite nicely. The other question that that Nancy had, now I've got Wendy on the brain, but was how to accumulate junk journal supplies without spending a bunch of money. So how do you get into making handmade journals without going out and spending a fortune? And you can most definitely do that. I would say, as you're starting out, just first, what I first did is I kind of took a look around my own home, and you would be shocked at the things that you have in your own home that you can likely use. If you have fabric, there you go. Some journal covers, you can make pockets out of that. You can make ruffles with it. You can make tabs out of fabric. You can tear little strips of them to layer on in your collaging, on your embellishments, all kinds of things that you can do with fabric. Now, if you don't have a stash of fabric, that's okay too, because, and I'm just going to use some file folders here as a backing to do some collaging for our tags. But if you don't have a stash of fabric, that is quite all right. You can just go ahead and look through, if you've got a Goodwill pile started, if you have any clothing that you won't be using any longer, you can certainly do things with clothing. In fact, when I made the prom dress journal, I used one of my old shirts. It had this really light fabric around the edges, and I used that to back a belly band, and I think I did a ruffle on something too. Then I also used my prom dress, the fabric from that, and I've still kept what's remaining from that to make 2 journals so far, and I still have plenty fabric to do a bunch of other things with. So, you know, there's no end to what you can do with just what you have on hand at home. And for those of you who are starting out, maybe you just want to try making your own first journal as a first attempt, and you're not sure even if you will enjoy making junk journals. So just, you know, find things around the house, let your friends know. And my goodness, my mom has given me a bunch of stuff as she was going through some purging at her house, and she's given me oodles of things to use in making my junk journals. So yeah, and you'd be surprised at how clever you can be with things that you have on hand. In fact, if you hold on a second, I'll show you something. It's an admission here. Watch out, Pearl. All of this is frightening, number one. But you know what this is? This is all stuff I found around my house, packaging from things, things that have come in the mail, all kinds of stuff that just appears at your doorstep. This is all packaging, and the, you know, when you have a magazine and they've got these things in them, I save those, I make journal cards out of them. This whole packet is full of stuff like that to make cards from, which I should probably be using this. So there's that. This is something we got in the mail today from the, what do they call the group? Shame on me. The Arbor Day Foundation. They call these coasters. I don't know. Not quite what I would think, but I kind of have an idea in the back of my head. I'm wondering if I can punch this out for embellishments. So who knows? And then these are bookmarks that they sent. Now it's got her last name on it, but I'll be able to put something over that and tear out the bookmarks and make something out of that. Envelopes. Oh my goodness. Don't go out and buy envelopes. Just use what's in your mail because we collage over this anyway. Here's another envelope that came. I was reorganizing photographs, and all the pictures that you get of your kids from school, yeah, save these because you've got the acetate in here. I've got an idea brewing in my head on what I might be able to do with these, but I had tons of them from both of the kids. Oh, still accumulating. Here's this kind of an envelope. I use these as the inside of a journal cover and then cover it with fabric. More envelopes. There's no end to the envelopes that come. Here's more. More. These are great for mini envelopes or mini covers. Here's some more pieces, but you get the idea. Junk mail is actually your friend if you are a paper crafter. So there's all of this. Let's see if I have anything else in here. There's oodles of envelopes. It's ridiculous what somebody gets in the mail for envelopes. Ooh, this one came. I thought this was cool. This is what your license sticker comes in. Uh-huh. Yeah. Cool. That's going to become something fun. So bags. Keep the bags. Listen to the crunch. Yummy. This was a wine bottle bag. awesome to use for something. This is a fabulous bag. It's got like a coating to it. These I love using for little, I cut off the bottom and then I make little ephemera pieces that are like trifolds to go in journals. So yeah, that's a wonderful way to get started. Books, old books. Right now, what, oh no, I made the dogs bark. Right now, I'm just using an old Reader's Digest condensed book, and I'm just tearing the pages out of this to collage with. And we'll use some other scraps. The file folders, I either get from old ones at work that are kind of getting all crumbly, or I just get, if you go to the dollar store, the Dollar Tree, a pack of 8 file folders as backing for so many things you get for $1. So right now I'm using them as a backing for journaling cards, but you can also use these and collage over them to make pockets and all sorts of things. I use sometimes manila file folders as a base for a journal cover. So yeah, just go crazy with what you find around the house. If you have in a sewing stash any seam binding or oh, what is it called? Not seam binding, the bias tape. Those things work well also. So that's the first thing to do, is just kind of become a wise scrounger on things that you already have on hand. And you'll find that as, you know, we kind of purge through our homes from time to time anyway, and you'll find that once you start making journals, when you're purging things, we tend to look at things in a whole new light. So you'll find that you start using things that otherwise in the past you would have thrown in the trash, because that's just how we roll as journal makers. Where's my tear ruler? Where is it? Oh, right there. So yeah, you don't have to spend a lot. At the same thing at the Dollar Tree, they have amazing things. On an earlier video, I think, I showed at the Dollar Tree, they have these little like gem stickers and pearl stickers. You can use those on your embellishments. I mean, you can go to the Dollar Tree and spend $5 and have some nice supplies. If you need to buy envelopes, not that I'm saying you have to, I'm not saying that at all, but if you buy envelopes, get them from the Dollar Tree. You get a whole box of them for $1. First time I went to a Dollar Tree, I had a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that everything was $1. I kept looking for the price. It just messed with my mind. So yeah, there's goods to be had all around. You just got to think about things differently. Greeting cards, that's another one. You can use, depending upon the image on a greeting card, you might be able to use that as a frame. Like, let's say if this was a greeting card here, or this, you could cut out this and then use that as a frame for something else behind it. In books, cut out the images in a book, use the book pages and book pages make wonderful bases for things. You can, oh my goodness, when I go to my favorite thrift store, I can get Reader's Digest condensed books for 25 cents each. So you can get things like that. What else? Going too much in the same direction here. So you're getting the idea that while you're using just basic things like that, and maybe treat yourself to go to the craft store and pick up a few items that you might need. Look at, I just ordered my Oohoo glue stick from Amazon, and I order it in bulk. I think a lot of us who do this regularly do that. The things that I would say myself personally, other people might disagree. The necessities are, of course, you've got to have scissors. You don't even need to have a tear ruler. You can use a regular ruler or just fussy tear things yourself. You need a good glue stick. Oohoo is one, and then oh, there's another one that some people really like. Not the Elmer's ones. I can't think of. Yeah, don't get the Elmer's ones, but there are other ones, and I'm just drawing a blank right now. I'm sorry. So glue sticks, scissors, and any kind of paper, really. And then you can get creative beyond that. And these that I'm tearing up here are just from something that was gifted to me, and I made photocopies of it. One thing you do want to pay attention to if you start using things from books or printed items that were created by someone else is you need to pay attention to copyright. I am not a copyright law expert. So if you take a whole book and you just use some photos from it that you fussy cut out, I don't think that anybody's going to come chasing you down for that if you sell a journal. If you put those things, anything in your own journal that you're not selling, it's okay. You're not going to get in trouble for that. No one's going to come knocking on your door. But if you publish photos of what you're doing, that may matter. If you sell your journals or any ephemera that you make using someone else's work in any way, you have to be aware of copyright law. Now, digital kits. There are some makers, certainly if you buy digital kits to make something on your own or for your own use, there isn't going to be a problem with that. But if you are purchasing DigiKits or printables off of Etsy, and you want to make sure that those designers of those papers have, they have different copyright rules for usage of their items. So always when you buy a DigiKit on Etsy, you want to take a look at their rules for their digitals. As I have found there were some, because I do sell most of my journals, I can only write so much in a journal, that there have been some vendors that I would have liked to have used, but weren't able to use their creations because I was going to be selling journals. So that's another thing to be aware of. Where do I want to put this? So those are the ins and outs of that, but you can certainly get started very, very, very easily with just some really basic things. Now, as you're watching videos, you're going to see people using things that you're not going to have, that you're going to want, but just gradually accumulate things as you're able to afford it. You don't have to go out and spend oodles of dollars. My very first journals that I made, I have to think back now. I want to say the very, very first ones that I made were using just some, I had found some cool envelopes at the local craft store that were on sale. I think they were in like a bargain bin even. And I used those. And what else? And I just used some papers that I had on hand. We had an old atlas at our house that I just decided, you know what am I hanging on to this for? Because nobody's using it. So it became a junk journal. And it was perfectly happy to become a junk journal. So it became pages, and they were really, really interesting. What else? I should get out my little card and make sure that I'm getting all this down well. One thing to note when you're collaging like this, if you're using a glue stick, I know this happens with the Oohoo glue, your project will kind of curl. So what I do overnight is I just put them, after I've finished them, I put them under my green craft mat here. And then I might put a couple books on it, and then the next day it's flat as a pancake. So this is some, I would call this over coffee dyed paper, where I got a little crazy with it in the oven. But look at the wonderful print on this. You know what? I better check and make sure you can see me okay. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. Didn't want you to be missing out on the fun. So yeah, this has all kinds of yumminess. So even if you overbake, over coffee dye something, don't throw it out. You can use so much in collage and as backings to things. If there's a will, there's always a way. Mistakes that you might view as mistakes in your journal making initially, you'll find out later, are oftentimes happy accidents. There was one gal I used to watch. She was a watercolorist, and what did she call it? Her perfectly imperfect, I think is the phrase that she used. I just thought that was such a great phrase. Whoops, 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 whoops. Not far enough over. Yeah, perfectly imperfect. It certainly describes me. Although I don't even know if I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm imperfect, that's for sure. Maybe we'll put this right here. That'd be pretty. Like that. Yes. This is an Edith Holden book page that I had used a part of it on. I didn't like one side of it. You can see has a snake here. Yuck. Don't want to see that. So it's going on here. No one wants to see a snake. So yeah, there's all kinds of things that you can find, but the basics of what you need are you're going to need glue stick. I highly recommend art glitter glue. And if you're, and this will get you by a lot, but I would also pick up a Fabri-Tac if you're going to be gluing any fabric or anything heavier, like a heavy cardstock, or some of the Tim Holtz ephemera pieces are pretty thick, and I always like to just make sure that it's stuck down good with Fabri-Tac. But yeah, use what you got first and then just slowly build your stash. And if you want to go and splurge and pick up a scrap paper pack at your local craft store when they're on sale, it's a great time to pick up those things. Where do I want to put this little guy? I think he wants to live here. I also then, if you go shopping for things that you don't have to spend a lot of money on as you're building your stash, some of my favorite places to frequent, what do I do with my card now, are, I said, thrift stores or charity shops. Those are good ones. What else is good? I would also frequent, I should use these up. I would also frequent places like flea markets, garage sales, probably flea markets more so than garage sales, but at garage sales you might be able to pick up some nice fabric. You won't be able to find so much ephemera, maybe some game pieces and stuff like that if you're going to make charms or puzzles. If you're going to make charms, but you would get fabric, maybe threads and things. But even to sew in your signatures, when you're starting out, you don't have to have the waxed bookbinding thread. You can most certainly, what did I use at first? I think my first journals I used embroidery floss. And then I moved on to some that's cool. Then I moved on to, where do I want to put this, guys? I really want to use it right there. Then I moved on to using crochet thread, because one of the kind of charity shops that I go to, they or thrift stores that I go to, they always have a really good kind of craft section. I think what they do amongst their stores, and here's another tip. I would encourage you to go to more than one, and this doesn't have to again happen all at once, but over time visit multiple thrift stores and charity shops, especially if you're fortunate to have multiple around of the same type, like multiple Goodwills, or in our area we have St. Vincent de Paul's. I found that they kind of have developed a specialty for each of their stores. Like one may have good selection or a better selection of clothing. Another one might have a really good section of glassware or household items. And another one may, like my favorite one, has the craft stuff and they have some good vintage items. So, you know, scout things out like that and you'll find your favorites. And then get into a habit of knowing what you tend to pick up where. So, if you have also at your home any of the, what would you call them, like, the, what, words, the, oh my goodness, I'm struggling. The threads with the fuzzy stuff on them. Oh, heaven's sake. But like the yarns that are fuzzy and or chenille ones, if you ever use anything like that or want to, then that's a good thing to pick up at thrift stores. Seems like that stuff is always available at the thrift store, at least at the couple of them that I go to. So you see, I'm just mix matching things that I'm finding in my scraps and putting them down however it floats my boat, or I feel like it looks interesting. And then what we'll do then is after it dries and I've got it flattened, then we'll cut out some journaling cards and tags and different things. But it's a really kind of a expedient way of doing this. It's cardstock. I don't really do this with cardstock because it's just too thick. It's kind of lumpy and bumpy. What else do I have in here? I think I'll leave this alone a little bit. I've got, see, this is the thing I keep on my desk. It's just got all kinds of little snippets and tidbits. If you cut off envelopes, don't throw away this. Look at it, it's a perfect pocket. We'll be using that in an upcoming journal for sure. All right, we need a little something down here, don't we? We can certainly. You also notice I'm ripping things and then I'm not being careful about how I'm cutting it. And I think that when you're making journals, that adds to some of the interest. Makes things look a little more vintage. Okay, now that was a good one. Then I've got a little pink. We've got some pink on our journal. I'm just gonna fill some pink in on some spots. That piece of paper has been sitting in my scrap box. Feels like forever. I get to a point in my scrap box where I even just get tired of looking at stuff. Oops. And you see I go over the edges so I can cover everything, because when it dries, I start to make decisions on what I'm going to cut out how. Actually, this one isn't curling up too bad. Now there's a couple of other spots on here I'm going to catch. And then when we've got things cut out, then they're just our bases. We've got things that we can embellish on top of. to make even more layers of interest. Okay, here I start making sure everything is covered. So I hope you find this helpful in giving you ideas on how you can start making junk journals if that's not something that you've done before, because I highly encourage you to give it a try. And if you find that even making a whole journal isn't your thing and you just want to make little notebooks, or you just want to make some folded pockets and things like that, there's all sorts of things that you can do in the paper crafting realm. There's no end to it. Okay, I'm feeling like this is a little blah here. Whoops, hold on. Fumble fingers. I'm gonna use up this scrap and sick of looking at this one too. Let's see, that's actually got something on it. It's looking pretty good. Whoops. I think my glue is getting to the end here. It's acting like it's had enough. What this is it's just a card from, it's actually a room card from a conference that I went to, and you can use old gift cards and it works out great for that kind of thing. Also, if you're going to spread gesso or texture paste. The dish that I showed you before that I used for my scraps, now there's all kinds of admissions coming out. That is actually from a frozen meal, and I just kept the dish. See, it's just from a frozen meal. But why throw it out? It's got another purpose in another life. All right, I think I'm done with this one. So you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and do another one. And then when we come back next time, we'll cut these up and have them at our ready for our cards and such for our Jane Austen journal. And again, I always so appreciate you joining me. And thank you for those who are subscribers to my channel. For those of you who are new watching, I welcome you and I hope you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.